Hello guys and welcome to If Life Were an Anime. Today I bring you a top 10 of top 10 characters in anime that inspire us to be better. So with further ado, let's get started. At number 10, we got Budgie from Ranking of Kings. Man, what can I say about this anime? What can I say about this amazing character, Budgie? He's a deaf mute prince who was robbed of his strength at birth, who is weak, who has literally, it's not that he's weak, it's that he's incapable of exercising strength. He has no, for some reason he cannot even lift even the lightest of objects with any type of power. He is also deaf, so he cannot listen to any sounds, and that means he cannot articulate his words either. He can just make sounds, although he can read the lips of other people, but that really makes him difficult to be accepted and to create connection with other people. He's mocked and disrespected by his subjects, and the people around him, the royal family, do not want him to become king, so they put a lot of obstacles in his way. But what I really truly love about Budgie is that he doesn't allow the bad things that happen to him to shape his outlook on he who wants to be. If he wants to be king, he will do his best to do it, and he will not change himself to do it. He will not become cruel or selfish or some type of, resentful despot. He will be true to himself. He will remain sweet and innocent and brave and strong, and he will do it all with an absolute sense of kindness to other people, man. And that's what I love about Budgie. He maintains this pureness of heart throughout all the hardships that he faces, and although he's betrayed by the people he trusted the most, although he is denied all the abilities and qualities that would allow him to become a king, he doesn't let himself be put down by these external things. He knows that he has a value within himself that cannot be stolen from external circumstances, that cannot be taken away from him. He sees himself as worthy to be king, and although nobody else can see that because they just judge with the eyes, there is a quality, a sort of bravery in Budgie that will not allow him to surrender. And that is amazing. That cannot be taught and that cannot be trained. That can be improved for sure in normal people, but he's born with this sense of self-worth, even though everybody around him tell him through their action that he's not worth it. He never believes that, and at some points it gets so difficult for him and he's almost desperate and crying. He kind of always manages to focus again on his goal. And what's truly beautiful about Budgie is that he doesn't want to be king just to be a king. He really has ulterior positive motives to become king. And once he, spoiler alert, so if you haven't watched the anime, skip this part for the next 10 seconds. So for Budgie, at one point in the anime, he will achieve his goal. He will realize that being king is not what he really wanted, but he found something more valuable in the process of overcoming all this adversity of becoming king, and the people that he met and the stuff he went through. He will learn that what was really valuable was not the thing in itself, but who he had to become to achieve it. And the person that he has become is the real treasure, is the real goal behind the goal. And I love that about Budgie, man. He's so pure of heart, he's so nice, he's so strong, he never gives up, he's resilient, he's determined, and all this in a tiny small little package that would fool anybody. And that's what I love about him. Although his appearance make people judge him, he will not allow that judgment to define him. So at number 10, Budgie from Ranking of Kings. Please watch this anime. At number 9, we got Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Man, this anime and manga needs no introduction. This needs no introduction. We love Demon Slayer. We know it's an amazing anime. It has taken a hold on the industry. And what can I say about Tanjiro? What I really enjoy most about Tanjiro is that Throughout the difficulties he faces, when he finds no solution, he tells to himself, although I'm in a desperate situation with no clear path ahead, I am the one that always finds a path. I am the one who finds a solution. I am the one who manages to make things work. And if I cannot imagine a solution, then I will turn to what got me here, which was pure, honest, hard work and dedication. When Tanjiro is being trained and he gets the order to be able to split a huge boulder, and he doesn't manage to do it even after months and months and months of very hard training. When he's becoming desperate, what he chooses to do is to refocus his mind in what got him there. Okay, if I can't think of anything else to solve this, I will go back to what got me here. And he goes back to training and doing the exact same training even harder. He puts his whole soul and his whole heart twice as much as before and 10 times as much as before, because he knows that he doesn't have a solution now, but by working hard towards it, by putting in the effort, at one point the solution will come. One day will be his day, as long as he doesn't quit. And I love that about Tanjiro. And another aspect I think is great about his personality and the whole series in general is how he is so not judgmental of his enemies. Some people hate that about him, that he's not like, there isn't truly a 100% bad guy in the series except for the final villain. And even that can be argued, it's kind of shades of gray, but the whole series kind of makes an emphasis that the demons that he fights were former humans that allowed the worst parts of their nature to overcome them. And that can happen to any of us, that happens to any of us. We sometimes get lazy, we sometimes get fearful, we sometimes do not act when we know we should act, and we sometimes reinforce bad habits. And that can happen to any of us. And if that happens for a long enough period of time, that will become the main trait of who we are. And what's great about Tanjiro is that although he fights all these demons, he never really condemns them. He never morally judges them. He kind of has this feeling of compassion. I think that's the number one trait in Tanjiro, is this great feeling of compassion for other people, even if they're his enemies. And there's one beautiful scene in a movie, in the Demon Slayer movie, where this guy who's very sick, who is dying, gets the order from a demon to kill Tanjiro in his mind, sort of in his subconscious mind or his dreams. And when this guy manages to enter Tanjiro's mind, he only sees a vast, endless blue sky and a beautiful, clear water surrounding everything. Like this beautiful, shallow ocean, and on top a blue, sunny sky. And it's such a peaceful, beautiful environment. And that's who Tanjiro is. Although he has suffered so many injustices, although he has had so many hardships, he hasn't allowed this to change him. And that is, to me, the number one distinction of strength. Real strength is facing adversity without becoming bitter. If you can do that, you are truly successful in life. Tanjiro manages to keep on trusting people, on trusting himself, on seeing the better nature of people, and always relying on the hope that people are good, and that they will make the right choice when they are given the opportunity. And what happens with this guy when he enters Tanjiro's mind is that he finds these little light creatures, like childlike little creatures that are Tanjiro's subconscious mind. And they know he's here to find the core of Tanjiro's mind, soul, so to speak. And if he destroys that core, Tanjiro will die. And the little creature, instead of attacking him, they take him by the hand and take him where this core is, with this light that represents Tanjiro's life is in his subconscious. And all the guy has to do is to kill it, to stab it with a knife. But when he compares his situation to Tanjiro, he who is sick and filled with bitterness and a sense of injustice, of feeling wrongly accused by the world, wrongly condemned by the world, by being given this disease. He's full of bitterness and resentment. And although Tanjiro has suffered the loss of his family and a lot of similar hardships, he sees that Tanjiro is so trusting of other people, so at peace with himself. He's not filled with hate, he's not filled with resentment, he's not filled with a sentiment of why me. He's not tainted by what happened to him. And he realizes, you know what, he can be like Tanjiro as well if he had made the choice. But he made the choice of letting his resentment towards this disease define the rest of his life. But when he's confronted by somebody who has been through a similar suffering and did not get himself contaminated by these thoughts, by these feelings, he sees that it is possible to live a different life. And he basically decides this guy's heart, his mind, his values are so beautiful, are so amazing that I cannot bring myself to end him. And Tanjiro manages to defeat his enemies by turning them into allies, by showing them, by trusting them, showing them that there is a better option, and trusting that they will make the right choice. And that is beautifully done in the anime. So watch Demon Slayer. You already know it's a great anime. Number 8, I'll talk about the first arc of My Hero Academia. So I'll talk about the main character, Izuku Midoriya. You know this guy, you know this anime, it's really fun. And what I love about the first arc and what got me hooked on My Hero Academia was the attitude of Izuku of never surrendering. Although he is talentless compared to other people, he doesn't have a quirk. He manages to always work towards that goal, not knowing what the solution will be, not knowing what the future will bring. And when he's finally given the chance to prove himself, he immerses himself in the opportunity. He gives it his 110%. He gives it all. He gives all his heart to try to achieve, to try to accomplish what he has been given, to try to fulfill his responsibilities, fulfill his dream, fulfill that goal that has been trusted to him, because somebody else saw in him what through all of these years nobody had seen before. Somebody trusted him that he could be that hero he knew he could be. He knew he had it in him, and when he was given the opportunity, he lived up to it. You know, the trading arc of the first season of My Hero Academia, where he has to clean all the garbage from the beach, man, that is one of the best training arcs in anime. So I really recommend the first season of this anime. Please watch it, My Hero Academia. Number 7, man, this is a classic. This character needs no introduction. Rock Lee from Naruto. Guys, when we talk about Rock Lee, we're talking about an all-time great. This guy was so good, they had to make him bad. They had to ruin his character, remove him from the series, because nobody wanted to watch Naruto anymore without Rock Lee. Rock Lee is an amazing character. We all know what he went through, what he has faced in his life, all the challenges that he had, all the problems that he was born with, all the bullying, all the harassment. You know, he was born different in a society where everyone else can do something that he can't, and he had to find a way to use his disability as an ability, to use his lacking as a strength. And that is what is amazing about Rock Lee. You know, it reminds me of a saying from the Stoics: the obstacle becomes the way. Remember that whenever you're faced with an obstacle, is within that obstacle that the solution lies. The obstacle will show you the solution if you keep going at it. And that's what Rock Lee found. If he hadn't the same abilities as other ninjas to use that same power, he will use the power that he has 10 times harder than everybody else, 100 times harder, and 1,000 times harder. If he had to do 1,000 kicks just to be as good as anybody else, then he will do those 1,000 plus another 10,000 to even be better. And he put his life into his training. And what I love about it is that although he didn't win his first fight, I think one of the greatest challenges that Rock Lee faces is when he's subjected to get a surgery in order to be able to keep being a ninja and fulfill his goal, and he's so afraid to take that surgery because it poses a real risk of death, and he's not guaranteed that the surgery will work. And this is actually a very real scenario for many people, especially athletes are sometimes faced with a prospect of having to take a surgery that will be very invasive and very dangerous and will not guarantee them that they will get back into their sport at the same level. And that's a real difficult decision to make. But his teacher, Guy Sensei, tells him, you know what, take the surgery. Do not give up on your dream. Do not give up on the path that you have chosen, because even if the surgery kills you, if you die in this surgery, I promise you I will die with you. But everything will be alright. Everything will turn out well. But in the event that you die in this surgery, I will die with you. And man, those words are truly the words only a father could say. Only somebody that really loves you could say. And we are 100% sure that Guy Sensei was serious. If by any chance Rock Lee had died, then Guy Sensei would have died with him 100%. So Rock Lee was so good, they had to take him out of the series, make him like a comedic relief, and man, that's too bad. They never really rehabilitated his character, and I think it's because the mangaka from Naruto designed Rock Lee, I think by the request of his editor, so he really never put that much love into a character, and he had to remove it because it was becoming way too popular. So Rock Lee, a very well deserved spot. So this list is not in order. It's a top 10, but it's not in order. You can put him number 1, and I would agree Rock Lee is amazing. So let's move on to number 6, Shiryu from Saint Seiya. Man, Saint Seiya is a classic anime. I grew up watching Saint Seiya. I love it, and Shiryu is my favorite saint. You know, he's an orphan. He gets sent deep into the mountains in China to train with an older teacher who used to be a gold saint, who is full of wisdom and strength, although he's at his old age now and he doesn't look it. He manages to train Shiryu to become really strong, but Shiryu has a couple of weaknesses in his technique, and his teacher in his first fight in the tournament sends somebody to tell him that he died. So Shiryu fights his first fight thinking that his teacher, who was like a father, died, and this was a test from his teacher to put him in such a stress that he could overcome this and still perform. Unfortunately, Shiryu dies, or maybe fortunately, because almost dies and loses the fight, but his opponent Seiya manages to help him be resuscitated, and through this he manages to gain a friendship with Seiya and the rest of the guys, and an understanding of what true strength is throughout the challenges that he will face. And one of the challenges he faces later on in the series is that he loses his eyesight. And man, this is a huge blow to him, because he was such a strong, independent guy, and now he's blind, depending on other people. He isn't able even to do the most basic things alone, and he's doubting if he ever will be like he used to be. And during this time, at his most difficult time in life, he gets issued a challenge by a very strong old rival, and he has to put his life on the line, not letting know his opponent that he's blind, and he has to risk his life and be able to find a way to win although he's blind. And he manages to use this blindness not anymore as a disability but as a strength. All of these characters, and especially Shiryu, they find a way to make the obstacle the way. They manage to find a way to overcome. They don't let themselves fall into desperation for too long. You know, a ship sinks not because it's surrounded by water, but because water gets into it. If you don't allow the water around you to get into you, you will find a way to keep going, and that's what Shiryu did. So number 6, Shiryu, watch Saint Seiya. It's a beautiful anime. Number 5, Rudeus Grey Rat from Mushoku no Tensei. I love this anime, man. I've started watching it recently and I love this character. So Rudeus Grey Rat used to be a hikikomori, some useless guy with a lot of flaws that gets thrown into a street by his family, a selfish, talentless guy that, due to a lot of bullying that he suffered, a lot of how you call that, painful experiences in his youth. Let's just say he never manages to overcome that trauma, and because of that he kind of ruins the rest of his life because of what happened in the past. He cannot let it go, and he gets very, very few help in his life. He becomes the worst person that you can become. He allows this hate for the rest of the world and this fear to just become a part of him, and he wastes his own life and then dies, and he's given a second chance to be born in a different world and get a second chance in life. And when he becomes aware of this, he really takes that opportunity to the best of his abilities. He manages to face all the trauma of his past life and recognize, he becomes conscious of what a horrible person he had been, and that he would not allow that to happen again. So I really love this anime because it reminds us that we only have one life and that change is possible. Look at every day as if a second chance in life has been given to you. Look every day as a new opportunity, and let go of the past, man. Let go of those problems, those issues. Forgive yourself. This is an anime truly about redemption, a guy in his way to redemption. And the first step to redemption is to recognize what we need to improve, what we did wrong, and put our whole heart into changing. A mistake done twice is not a mistake, but a habit and a decision. So when you recognize something is wrong, change it. Put the best of your ability into the determination to change and improve. And that's what I love Rudeus Great, right, man? Watch this anime, Mushoku no Tensei, at number 5. Let's get going. Let's keep going. So at number 6, we got one of my favorite characters of all time, Dr. Kenzo Tenma from the manga and anime Monster. I love Dr. Tenma. And the reason I love Dr. Tenma is because, again, he's a doctor who is not obsessed with money or status, but is really concerned about his patients, about the value of all life. No matter if you're rich, if you're poor, he just views all human life as equally valuable. And he respects this principle throughout his life. And he's such a kind guy. He's such a nice guy. But not only nice, he's like strong. He's like strong, although he's not portrayed as imposing or especially good looking or anything. He always manages to carry an air of dignity about him. And one of the moments I love about this anime is that Dr. Tenma is engaged to a woman that he absolutely loves, and that he had a very hard time conquering, let's say, romantically speaking. But this woman, when he sees that Dr. Tenma loses his status, loses his money, she kind of just tosses him out like he was garbage. One day they're attending an event and he's waiting for her, and then he sees that she arrives with another guy, and the woman just gives back the ring and tells to Tenma that the engagement is off with no explanation, just all of a sudden. And Tenma understands that she's leaving because his economic and social situation changed, because he chose to save the life of a little kid over the life of a supposedly important person. And Tenma feels so betrayed about this, but the way he reacted, I think, is the best way you can react to any breakup, which is to don't say anything, just accept it and move on. And Dr. Tenma just accepts it, kind of asks why, but doesn't insist, accepts it, moves on, and never spoke to a woman again. And later in the anime, when the woman realizes all the qualities that Dr. Tenma had, even if he didn't have all the money or all the status, all those qualities that made him an amazing guy. Like, he was good, kind-hearted, responsible, he was joyful, he was always really going with a good heart and facing adversity with this positiveness and this confidence and this really honest love towards her that she could never find in anybody else in life. All the other men she was with just used her or saw her as some sort of status symbol. And I think she realizes that what she lost in Tenma is not so easy to find in anybody else. And that's why, guys, if you ever, or guys and girls, if you ever find yourself in a breakup, never insist, Never insist, never ask why, just accept it, keep silent and move on, because silence is power. If you manage to remain calm in any situation, that is powerful. That will leave people wondering. But if you manage to speak a lot, to make a fuss, to get angry, that will tell them how desperate you are for them to come back, and they will not want to come back. But if you remain silent, man, like Tenma, like the OG Tenma, they will always want to come back to you, because you are self-sufficient, you're aware of your own value, you know that you can move on with or without them. So I love Dr. Tenma. Please watch this anime, Monster. It's one of the best manga and anime of all time. Highly recommended. At number 5, we got Ippo from Hajime no Ippo. Wow, Hajime no Ippo is one of the most popular sports anime, if not the most popular sports anime right now, about an anime about boxing. And what I love about Ippo, man, is that he suffered so much bullying, and all that pain never got a release, until one day a boxer finds him, defends him, and he thanks the boxer, and the boxer is kind of disgusted by him, and he tells him, you know what I hate bullies, but what I hate the most is people who allow bullies to act out without repercussion, people who don't defend themselves. And he was really hit hard by this phrase from the boxer Takamura, and he takes it to heart to want to become a boxer. And at his first day at the gym, he takes a beating. He takes a huge beating from a really skilled boxer. But after the spar, after even he lost, he feels like a win. He feels like a winner, because all the pain that he had been bottling up in the past, and he had been bullied without defending himself, all that pain that was directed towards himself was 10 times more sharp and more painful than the pain of finally confronting adversity. And that is what impulses people, that's what makes him great. He takes all the pain from his life and the things that he has to endure, working, being bullied, not being able to have free time, not being able to socialize, all these things he takes into the ring and uses them as fuel. And while he turns into to be a great boxer, he never stops to be a kind person. The whole motive of his wanting to become a boxer is that he wants to find out what it means to be truly strong. And I think as the series progresses, he's kind of getting an idea between how to balance his kindness and his heart with the determination that a champion needs to become a world champion. And he manages to become such a different person in a way than what he was, but at the same time stay the same in what made him himself, which is this beautiful, kind heart, this innocent mind, this kind of guy who is like well-mannered, well-intentioned towards other people, trustful. And that's why I love this series. It's such an action-packed and comedy-packed series. It's well worth a read. So please read and watch the anime and manga Hajime no Ippo. At number 4, we got Basco from Lookism. Man, Basco is the number 1 top character for me in Lookism. I love his whole story. Again, Basco, just like any other character, suffer from bullying, but this wasn't the kind of bullying that they just make fun of you. This was like constantly every day getting beat up to a pulp. And the reason he got beat up is because he defended other guys that later would just, betray him. They would constantly betray him. His friends would betray him once they got in danger. And even though he got in trouble for trying to defend them, they would never stick out their necks to defend him. And he suffers the most horrible betrayals in the story, and he suffers the most horrible bullying, the most horrible, they even force him to get tattoos. They forcefully make him get tattoos that are ridiculous and humiliating. And through the power of his courage, never giving up, and other people seeing those qualities in him, he manages to resurrect himself from the depths of hell, man. He manages to find redemption, to become that guy that is so strong that can protect anybody, that doesn't need to be imposing his will on others, but but truly gets angry at injustice. Man, Basco has such a character arc. I love Basco, man. It's number one character in Lookism, a Korean manhwa. This manga is beautiful, funny, intelligent. It's full of fighting, it's full of action. So please read it. And man, remember me when I tell you now that you will love Basco. At number 3, we got Kaiji from Ultimate Gambler. Kaiji, I love this anime and I love the manga as well, man. It's a beautiful manga. It's filled with comedy, it's filled with drama. And what I love about Kaiji is that he's a character full with flaws. He has so many flaws as a character. Sometimes he's lazy, sometimes he feels insecure, he's wasting his life, like he's not getting anywhere. And just to sum up the manga real quick, he gets into a debt with the Yakuza because of a friend, not really his debt, but he manages to get involved by vouching for his friend, so the Yakuza come and collect the debt directly from Keiji once his friends bails out, and they give him a chance to kind of pay the debt that he cannot pay, or get into a boat and gamble for one night asking a loan, and if he manages to win anything he can pay the debt, keep the money, but if he manages to lose he will be turned into a literal slave for the rest of his life. And Kaiji takes this gamble and he uses his intellect and his ability to the best that he can to kind of solve the situation that he's in. And what I love about Kaiji is that sometimes he doesn't make the best decision. He kind of keeps getting betrayed by other people, although he's very, very smart and he manages to overcome a lot of obstacles. There's this human factor where he kind of keeps trusting people and he keeps getting betrayed. But there's one point in the manga that this doesn't change him as a person. Although he suffered betrayal and failure, and there are times where he doesn't see any hope, he manages to bring himself together and move on and keep going at it and correct his mistakes. The most important part of Keiji is how he's able to think about his past mistakes and correct them, and also how he's able to keep trusting people. He doesn't allow his previous negative experiences to determine how will he live his life now in the present. And that is such a trait of strength, of mental strength, that you can suffer through a lot and be the so-called victim of maybe some injustices, but you don't allow those injustices to contaminate who you are and to forbid you from trusting other people in the future, or forbid you from enjoying life. And Kaiji, there's one beautiful moment in the anime where sorry, spoilers ahead, if you don't want to listen to this, skip around 30 seconds. So Keiji loses a huge bet. He loses all the money that he earned, and he loses the fingers of his right hand, and he will be made a slave. And where he's at this moment going to the hospital waiting for them to patch him up and then turn him to a slave, he's thinking on exactly what he did wrong or incorrect, and he remembers that at the moment of his biggest obstacle, when he was taking his biggest gamble and he had the opportunity to choose the gamble, instead of relying on himself, relying on his mind, of thinking the situation out and make the best decision when things were not going his way, he chose to resort to praying and desperation, and he became truly scared and started begging God in his mind to save him. And God did not save him, and nothing happened except that he lost everything. And he remembers this moment and starts to backtrack and think, and he starts to kind of figure out the situation, and he tells himself, you know what, if I had done this and that instead of praying, I would have solved the situation, but I wasn't calm enough to trust myself and seek salvation within myself. I gave myself to despair, and by giving myself to despair, I trusted that the solution will come from something other than myself, and that's where I got lost, because a king makes his own luck. That is what his enemy tells him before he gives him the chance to think the situation and change the gamble. A king makes his own luck, and Kaiji realizes that this means that all during that time, he had the ability to win that gamble if he had calmly thought about what he should do, what steps he should take. And he knew that his enemy knew this, but Kaiji, again, resorting to desperation and praying, didn't trust himself, didn't try to work his way out of it by himself. And with this lesson from the depths of hell is that Kaiji will rise up with a new determination to always look for a salvation within himself, within his own abilities, and within trusted friends. And man, you gotta read this manga and watch this anime. Kaiji Ultimate Gambler, check it out. At number 2, and we're almost done with the list. At number 2, man, I got Peko from Ping Pong the Animation. Man, and this is so different from the rest of the other characters because Peko is the actual opposite of the rest. He is actually talented. From a very early age, Peko is talented at ping pong and better than the rest of his peers. So he manages to coast through life with his ability at ping pong without putting as much effort as other people. But when his friend called Smile starts to catch up to the talent of Peko, and there's an exchange student from China who manages to utterly humiliate Peko at ping pong, make him look like he doesn't even deserve to play the game. Peko quickly becomes to realize that he's not the best anymore, that his friend is a lot better than he is, and that his new rival is 10 times better. He manages to kind of slowly realize that his talent alone can only take him so far, and that he needs to change. And once he realizes this, when his ego is utterly shattered by all the defeats and he has hit rock bottom, he manages to find a commitment within himself and determination to say, you know what, I will start from scratch. I will start working hard as I can to surpass all of these guys. And Peko puts all his mind and heart and determination to train as hard as he can for as long as he can, and manages to face his challenges and become again champion. But during all this time, what beautiful quality Peko has is that he always is the person that lifts other people up. Although he's a jokester, he doesn't take anything seriously. Whenever it comes to his friend Smiles, who is a really serious guy, depressed guy and alone, Smiles sees Peko as his hero, and not because he's great at ping pong, but because he has this attitude of always wanting to uplift people. And that's the attitude we should take from him. You know, there are people who will always say something to bring other people down, and there are habits that we form that maybe make it easy to express negativity on other people. But you know what? You should be like Peko, and you should try to lift people up. What can you say to lift people, to encourage them? Because if you become the person that encourages other people, you'll be able to encourage yourself, and the world will just turn into a better place, man. Be the person who uplifts, who lives, who helps, who says the kind word, the positive word. Be the kind of person that just radiates light. And that's what I love Peko from Ping Pong the Animation. Check this anime out. Check this manga out. It's amazing. At number 1, guys, it may come to no surprise for all of you, but at number 1 we got Guts from Berserk. And what can I say about Guts that hasn't been said before, man? I love Berserk. It's a manga that I've been following for many years. Man, when I heard that the mangaka of Berserk died, man, I felt so bad. I felt like a friend had died. I felt like I was holding something for many years without knowing, and at that very moment it fell to the ground and it shattered to 1,000 pieces. But I'm glad that the manga will continue with the help of the friend of the mangaka, and I love the direction it's taking. So every story needs to come to an end, and so does Berserk. But let's talk about Guts. Why I love Guts, man. You would find it very hard to find in manga or anime any story that would portray a hero suffering so many things, We know what God suffered through as a child. I won't mention it here, but rhymes with grapes. And we know that he had a bad parent that really didn't took care of him, that he was alone all of his life, that he was seen as a cursed child, that nobody wanted to be around him, that he got abandoned, that he got betrayed, that he got treated so unfairly for so long by so many people, man. That trauma in him, it was so deep, and it's through the power of his own will to live and the power of slowly meeting other people that he kind of gets a second chance in life. And although that story hasn't ended and he still suffered a lot of injustices, we see that every time God manages to kind of correct his course, he doesn't always make the best decision, but he managed to acknowledge it and try to fix it. And in God's, man, he's like a Byronic hero, a Greek tragedy. God's is like, man, like Hercules or Prometheus. He's like the type of hero that is talked about in mythology, but at the same time he's so human, he's so childlike in many things, he's got so many good qualities. And I think that deep down, although he has suffered many things, he has managed to overcome all of those things. He has managed to become a better person and managed to find joy in life, although that joy sometimes gets interrupted and taken away by external factors that he cannot control. He always manages to get back on track and fight for the things he thinks are valuable. So Berserk, you need to read this manga. It's beautiful, it's beyond beautiful, it's the best manga of all time in my opinion. It's an amazing experience. So Gods from Berserk. An honorable mention, man, I want to mention the Slam Dunk manga, the whole Shohoku team. If you don't know, Slam Dunk is one of the classic manga for sports. It's a basketball manga mixed with the delinquent manga, and I love the whole cast and I love the whole team of Shohoku. I love Hanamichi, Rukawa, Kagi, Miyagi, and Mitsui. All these dynamic between the teams, their different goals, their personalities, how they never give up. They put 100% in the court. They exhaust themselves to death at every game. They love basketball. They have this passion for the sport. They have this passion for competition, this passion to get better that nobody can bring them down. Even at a loss, they cannot be diminished. They are amazing. I love the whole story. I love how it's full with action, fighting, and sports. So honorable mention to Slam Dunk and the whole Shohoku team. So guys, this is my top 10 of characters that inspire us to be better. Hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe for more and enjoy your day. Thank you.